At the end of last year, you were most heavily weighted in South Korea. Have you reduced your weightings at all, or are you thinking about doing that in light of some of the news?
We've reduced it marginally, but not in a big way. I mean, the saber rattling that's coming out of North Korea right now is something that we've seen before. In terms of its impact on the Korean market, I mean, the market has underperformed this year. So as a value investor, we see even more value in Korea. We don't think anything's going to come out of this in the long run in terms of impacting the Korean economy or the Korean markets in a meaningful way in the long run. So we, at the margin, would be a buyer on this.
Really? Any concern at all just about companies operating in South Korea or any kind of business disruptions while the overall market might be okay in terms of individual stocks?
Perhaps, but if past results are any indicator of what's going to happen going forward, this is another ploy by the North Korean government to get more concessions from the South Korean government as well as the U.S. In terms of its economic problems. And so we would regard this situation once again as a repeat of what we've seen before.
That's what makes your job interesting, right? You have to dissect all this stuff.
Exactly.
How about Asia as a whole? Any change in feeling about the Asian region compared to other emerging markets?
As a result of what's going on in North Korea?
In general.
In general, I mean, to me, the bigger event that's going on in Asia right now is what's going on in Japan. Yep. With the current central bank policy of basically cheap money that we've seen going on in the U.S. and in Europe, and its impact on the Asian economy. I think actually in terms of its impact on South Korea, it's going to have a more negative impact than anything that's going on from a political standpoint. It's going to make some of the consumer electronics companies like Sony, Panasonic more competitive with the likes of Samsung in Korea. It's going to make some of the auto companies, Toyota, Honda, more competitive with the likes of Hyundai in South Korea. So I think at the margin, Korea could be negatively impacted. In terms of other markets in Asia, I think China could be positively impacted. China produces some of the low-value items that are used in the manufacturing process in Japan. So if Japanese growth is good for China in the long run, so it could be positively impacted. And other parts of Asia, it's not so clear, but I think net it could be a mild positive. Growth in the region is a good thing. Japanese economy is still a big economy. If the Japanese growth engine can get resuscitated, that's good in general for the region, except for certain markets.
Are you increasing your weightings in other Asian countries right now?
We already have a large weighting in Asia coming into this year. And so at the margin, we're not doing that. But we certainly are not decreasing the weighting to Asia.
Tell me which sectors are interesting you most now. Financial is important in terms of your holdings. You like financials. What other areas of the market do you like?
Financials are important, but keep in mind we are benchmark relative investors. So in a benchmark relative sense, we're actually underweight to financials. Where we are finding value or opportunities from a sector perspective include information technology, companies like Samsung, Lenovo in China. We also are finding opportunities in consumer discretionary, a company we own in India called Tata Motors, a big auto company. We also find opportunities in healthcare, which is a small segment, admittedly, of the emerging market universe, but it's something that we find opportunities specifically in Indian healthcare companies, generic pharmaceutical manufacturing companies, which based on our models have very good growth prospects, even though the Indian market as a whole looks expensive to us.